Good morning and welcome to Today in L.A. My name's Mike Amos. He's Bill Rice Jr. as we start a Thursday, already the 27th of August. And Rice,
August is almost over, Mike.
Rice, I've got 9 more shopping days till the opening of college football.
All right.
9 more big shopping days.
You know, it'll be a miracle if we can make it in Charles Henderson and Pike Liberal Arts and Pike County and Goshen and Troy University and Auburn and Alabama can all play a whole season. That'll be almost like a miracle.
Oh yeah, no question about it. And again, we're counting down to the opening of college football. Of course, tomorrow night, Charles Henderson of Troy opens up their football campaign. Against Catholic High of Montgomery, and then we've got that game's played in the stadium, and another big game just right across town. You could almost throw a rock and hit it. Pike Liberal Arts going up against Crenshaw Christian in a big rival game there.
And my wife tells me to mention that it's senior day, senior night at Charles Henderson game, so they're going to go ahead and honor the seniors, cheerleaders, band members, and football players at this first home game.
Mike Amos, you look like you had a rough night, bud. How you doing? Good morning, Mike Amos. You're there.
You're on there.
Yeah, man, you look great. We're
looking at you on the screen.
You look like you might have had a hard night. Did you get good sleep? Are y'all getting some bad weather down there?
Only seeing your shoulders.
Can you hear our voices?
I can hear a little bit.
All right, what kind of weather you got in Grayton Beach right now?
Okay.
No, I can't hear it. I can't hear it at all.
Okay.
This is the proverbial technical difficulties. We'll straighten those out in a while.
Yeah, we're trying to
about the weather, I woke up a couple of times in the middle of the night and turned on the Weather Channel and watch Hurricane Laura hitting Lake Charles, Louisiana. It looks like it's going to be pretty bad.
In fact, it's right now the storm, Category 4, which is real strong. It hit the state of Louisiana the hardest ever hit.
Hardest since 1856.
Since over 100 years. So
it's a Category 2 now, but it landed as a Category 4.
150-mile-an-hour winds. That's pretty stormy, no question about it. And hopefully there's no injuries or no, I'm sure, or no loss of life. I'm sure there'll be a lot of damage to property, and we'll wait and see that. But that is going on as we speak. Category 4 tornado. You call it Laura?
It's Laura.
Tell Laura I love her.
Yeah.
Tell Laura I care.
That's pretty. Billy Joel's one of my favorite musicians, and he had a song. It wasn't a hit, but it was on one of his albums. It's really one of his best songs, and it is called Laura.
Yeah. There's something else that comes up this weekend. Is the big Pike County rodeo from the rodeo
Pike County
facility.
Cattlemen's Facility.
Cattlemen's Association. That starts on tomorrow, Friday, and goes through Saturday. Competition rodeo, where some of the best rodeo riders in this part of the country will be there, and they've got all kinds of things for kids, and so you want to get out there early, and the kids will have a ball with the rodeo. They'll never forget that you took them to the rodeo.
Yeah, I mean,
Jackson.
He would love the rodeo.
He would. Well, we'll see if we can get those rodeo guys on our show tomorrow and bring us some tickets. How about that?
That's fantastic. That would be a great outing. Great outing for the family, especially for little boys and little girls. I agree.
We got a lot of high school games this weekend, and we'll be talking about them this week, today and tomorrow. In fact, we'll have we'll start our picket show. Now it won't be tomorrow, but on each Friday morning, Jason Gregory is going to be in here with me and Bill Rice, and Mike Amos will be on the Zoom, and we'll be picking games every Friday on this show. It's going to be the Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeeps Ram Trucks football forecast and picket show, and that's going to be a lot of fun.
Sure is. I look forward to that. Used to look forward to it when I wasn't on the panel, and I look forward to it now that I am on the panel.
Exactly right. Of course, we're looking at Mike Amos right there, or well, right now we're off of a Zoom, but we hope that you're doing well. And if you got,
that's the show where you said that's what winners are made of, right?
And I'm serious about this. You're going to see a lot of traffic heading north to try to run away from this storm, and hopefully everybody got out of there. But there'll be a lot of folks. You see these signs, hurricane
evacuation
trails,
route.
a hurricane route.
But they're all evacuating from Louisiana though, so they'll be going up into
that's right.
Arkansas, but the hurricane is actually going to Arkansas. Which how often have you heard of a hurricane hitting Arkansas?
Well, I thought this morning when I was brushing my teeth. You do a lot of thinking when you're brushing your teeth, or shaving, whatever. That a good friend of mine hails from Alexandria, Virginia, one of the...
Louisiana, you mean?
Alexandria.
There's an Alexandria, Virginia,
Louisiana. And, of course, the storm's heading right there. If it's not already there, it's headed that way.
Where is Monroe? How close is it to
Monroe,
Louisiana?
Well, you've got Monroe, Louisiana. That's got...
Hello.
Good morning. How you doing?
Just calling in.
Mike Amos calling in from Great Beach. What kind of weather do we have there?
The sun's out right now. I mean, looks like we didn't have any rain overnight. Of course, the hurricane was pretty horrible from what I was watching last night before I went to bed at 10:30. It was 150-mile-per-hour winds. I think it's like 105. I was watching the Weather Channel about 5 minutes ago. Of course, you have all those crazy meteorologists like Jim Quintori, and there was some other young girl that was out there in the storm last night, and it's just kind of crazy. There's like glass breaking around them and trees going by them, and it's just like almost they have a death wish out there. I mean, all for television, but then they're at the Gold Nugget Casino, and that's where apparently they were all headquartered up, and the casino was like the only place in the whole town didn't lose power. Yeah. Because they had generators, I guess.
Well, I know it was heading up toward Alexandria, Virginia, and Alexandria, Louisiana, and of course, a good friend of mine hails from Alexandria, Louisiana. Do you know who I'm talking about? She would. Her husband was a quarterback when your daddy played high school football in Troy.
Susan Murphy.
Her husband. Susan Murphy, you're right, you hit it. She is from Alexandria, Louisiana, and that's where that storm's heading right now.
Wasn't Rebecca a meteorologist in Alexandria, Louisiana for a little while?
I think maybe for a brief period. She was there in Columbus, Mississippi for a pretty good while. But you're right, I think that, she was given, she was offered a job in Alexandria and did not take it.
Man, when I got off camera, our views went from like 400 down to like 50.
I know, yeah, exactly. Everybody wanted to see you on TV today. Of course, we've got a lot going on.
Zoom tomorrow. I couldn't hear a word you guys were saying, so that was kind of difficult.
Well, we'll work it out.
Well, and hopefully Rice has done his research, Mike, on all the weather and so forth.
I was watching last night, and they were saying in some areas they're going to get like 20 feet of water. But then I was watching this morning. Apparently, the storm surge wasn't as bad as they claimed it was going to be. So I'll be interested. I guess I'll have some. The drones will get out today, and they'll have a bunch of footage of actually on the coast.
Well, a lot of people, even in New Orleans, live below sea level, and I don't know if this hurricane is going to affect New Orleans or not, but the low-lying areas of Louisiana are going to be.
That's right.
You've got to hope and pray that these people got out of those low-lying areas, or they would.
And it wasn't far from Houston and Port Arthur, Texas. Go ahead, Michael.
No, I was just going to say Troy plays two teams affected. Lafayette was going to get hit, and La Monroe was going to get hit.
Yeah.
Now, La Monroe, how far is La Monroe from this? Are they getting it hit hard, or I don't even know where it is?
Monroe is right next to Shreveport, and it's supposed to be a small hurricane going through Shreveport.
Well, it could affect this game. I mean, because they would shut off their power, and I bet they couldn't practice for. When we had Hurricane Opal, did the Troy University's football team practice?
Yeah, you're right. Of course, if it does go through that area, it's going to affect a lot of people, no question about it. And the winds are damaging, no question, and the water will be damaging. And that is good news that it didn't have near the water surge as we were expected.
Yeah, everybody on Facebook was reporting they have these buoys out in the ocean, out in the Gulf of Mexico, to report as far as waves, I guess, how high waves get. And at one time last night, a wave passed over a buoy that was 39-foot wave.
Oh,
man. The highest wave recorded during Katrina was like 28 feet.
Oh, man.
And when you heard stuff like that, you're thinking, man, there's a 39-foot wave out there.
Yeah, I saw the one I saw said it was a 45-foot wave. So, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Oh, my God.
Already it's predicted to be the worst storm to hit that area in over 150 years. And that's talking about Louisiana being probably, I would say, Louisiana, parts of Texas and Mississippi would probably be hit by more storms than anybody, wouldn't you think, over the years?
I'd be interested to know, to see where the most I mean, recently...
And of course, Northwest Florida, too.
I've actually looked at some TV reports or history reports on this, and it seems that the path of hurricanes changes over time. You'll have a period where they go up the East Coast and, hit South Carolina. Then you'll have a period where they hit South Florida. Then you have a period where they'll come up into the Gulf towards Alabama and Mississippi. And then sometimes they go out west towards Louisiana and Texas. It changes over time.
Yeah. Periodically this morning.
Two of the worst hurricanes of all time are named after your twins, Camille and Michael. Camille hit Mississippi and Michael hit, of course, Panama City Beach, Mexico Beach, and those were both Category 5 hurricanes.
I still think Camille was the worst.
You can still see damage if you look closely of Camille down there. It was devastating to the Mississippi coast where it was really.
The winds were 200 miles. Didn't they have 200 mile per hour wind gusts at Camille?
Of course, school is going full blast. Did you get your kids in all right? When did the first bell ring? Do you know?
7:30, I think.
Wait a minute, not that early, is it?
Yeah, my wife, I leave, and then she has to get a K4 student to school, a third grade student to school, and herself to school. She teaches 10th grade English, all by 7:30. So there's a little movement in that house.
10th grade English is a tough course. Because people are looking at it and says. Starts reading all this Chaucer. Who is Chaucer?
She was taught 12th grade.
A2 Brute.
Yeah, A2 Brute.
Yeah.
12th grade, 11th grade, 10th grade. She's taught 9th grade. She's taught 8th grade at Pike Road. She says she doesn't like 9th grade. She didn't really like 8th grade. She says she likes 10th grade.
Pass the word that I have heard that she was a very good teacher by a reliable source. So she passed the word.
She is a very good. She cares about her students and she has fun and then they like her and she takes a real interest in them and she knows a lot. Of
course, we've got a lot of rules and regulations to go over with you before Saturday week, as we mentioned, counting to date. Thursday the 27th, Friday the 28th, Saturday the 29th. They'll have a mock scrimmage. Then Sunday the 30th, then Monday the 31st, then Tuesday the 1st, Wednesday the 2nd, Thursday the 3rd, Friday the 4th, and Saturday the 5th.
When are the Trojans going to scrimmage?
They'll have a mock. They're through hitting, and I'm sure they'll go out and go through the,
Yeah, it's too soon. You're right. It's too soon to the game.
Touch-up stuff on Saturday, hopefully. And
who have been the stars of the scrimmage, from what y'all have heard?
I mean, apparently, the quarterback, Gunnar Watson stepped up and won the quarterback job, and apparently these defensive guys. Joe McDonald, who transferred in from Iowa, Richard Jimbari, who transferred in from Auburn. Apparently both those guys are going to start. And then Trey Ross, the guy that was the All-State tight end at Hillcrest, Tuscaloosa, apparently they moved him to linebacker. He's looked really good as well. He's 6'4", 230 pounds.
Where did he come from?
Tuscaloosa.
Hillcrest.
Oh, yeah, comes from a real good program, doesn't he?
But they signed him as a tight end, but they moved him to defense. But apparently the offensive line's looking pretty good too. I mean, they had 2 spots to fill in for starters go, and then we talked about the receivers and the running backs. You got B.J. Smith, who was preseason All Sun Belt last year, blew out his knee after 2 games, and you got D.K. Billings, who rushed for 1,000 yards, and you got Charles Strom, the Texas A&M transfer. That's not even counting. They got the best running back, one of the best running backs out of Georgia last year that won the state championship, and they got a kid named Woods that was a great player, Gaston City running back. So
they're loaded
really
on
good.
it.
So get your tickets now.
Yeah,
This is really exciting.
Rice has them going 12-0, guys.
Y'all heard it here first. I hope Steve saves that tape.
Well, also I want to mention.
Got to win the first one though. You win the first one, and then we'll.
Exactly right. Of course, you do need to go ahead and buy your tickets. Go ahead and get your season tickets now, because you're going to have top priority if you're a season ticket holder. And on seats, they're going to try to get 4,000 students in the game, Mike.
How are you going to separate that? I guess just that whole side will be for students.
That whole side will be for students pretty much, and whatever visitors they allow. And then, of course, the band will take up all of the south end zone, which will be very impressive. But and of course they won't be able to perform on the field, but the band and the cheerleaders will be able to be at the end of the stadium and provide as much pageantry as we possibly can. Again, there can be tailgating, but you can't have more than 9 people under your tent. And at the same time, you bring your own table. Like we will not have tables and chairs at the alumni house like we've had and tent like we've had in the past. But you can bring your own table and chair and set up your little tailgate area wherever you can find it in any grassy knoll on campus. And but again, you've got to pay very close to this distance rule, and that's 6.
So you can go get under one of those pretty magnolia trees or shade trees anywhere you find on campus.
And you're asked to wear your face mask too, and that is something else that's going to be very important. And is to wear your face mask. Look how easy and look how well it works out with my attire today. Baby blue.
I love that sweater.
Baby blue. Or excuse me, I reckon you call it baby blue. But it is football season, and there's plenty of reason to be exciting. Tomorrow night, we've got Charles Henderson High School of Troy opening their season against 3A Catholic of Montgomery, but a very good Catholic team's coming to Troy, and it should be a good one. And then, as we mentioned, right across town is Pike Liberal Arts, rejuvenated Pike Liberal Arts.
Yeah, big changes at Pike Liberal Arts.
Going up against.
Did you say the new and improved Patriots?
Yes, sir. They've really improved them. They've got about 10 to 15 transfers that are going to help them out. But against Crenshaw Christian, a team that beat them last year, Crenshaw, coached by Wayne Grant, you can expect. He's going to run between those tackles, and if you can't stop him, he's going to beat you.
Yep, that's what he did. I remember.
Is Wayne Grant going to bring in Cornelius Griffin and Quincy Jackson
and the defensive coordinator, ladies and gentlemen, the defensive coach for Pike Liberal Arts is none other than Cornelius. You got it.
Griffin, yeah. At Pike Liberal Arts?
Yeah.
I'll be dang.
I think Robert Rowland's actually the defense coordinator, and Cornelius is.
He's the defensive line coach. Yeah.
Well, he knows a little bit about playing defensive line.
And he's got Geis, and he's got Northcutt, 2 players that were Division 1A prospects at Charles Henderson High School would have been this year. They're now playing for Pike Liberal Arts, and they've got another big guy named Baker.
Of course, Coach White gets in there and says, Cornelius, you're doing it wrong. This isn't how you play defensive tackle.
Cornelius.
This isn't how you play defensive end.
Yeah.
How in the world do you correct a guy that played in the NFL for 10 years?
He was the captain of the Alabama football team.
Why would you ever want to?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and of course that should be a good game. And now Goshen and Pike County, I've got them not playing this week. Is that true? I think they're off.
I believe you're right because of the they gave up. They're only playing area games, so they're only.
That's right.
They start maybe mid-September, I think.
Yeah, well, Pike County and Goshen are in the same area. G.W. Long is also off. New Brockton is off. Carroll Wodark's off.
Did you say Pike County and Goshen are in the same area?
They're in the same area. They're in the same area this year.
That's the first, isn't it?
Some other games that we know that are on and will be played. Kinston is at Zion Chapel, but I think they're playing at Enterprise High School, like you said yesterday, Rice. In order to adhere to as many of the requirements for the Code 19 rules and regulations. One of them is that Kinston and Zion Chapel are going to play in Enterprise, and so there should be plenty of room to spread out.
Spread out, yeah, I like that. That's good.
Zion Chapel got beat in a jamboree against Florala. So I don't know if that's a good sign for Zion Chapel getting beat by Florala.
Yeah, Florella's gotten.
Randy Bryant.
At one time, Florala was one of the worst teams around, but they were getting better and better now.
In the article, Randy Bryant said that Florala's been in the playoffs 2 straight years. I know they got Coach Littleton, who I used to know back in the sporting goods business days. That was at Samson.
Yeah.
And he was pretty good when he was at Samson. He left Samson, went to Ashford, and now has left Ashford and gone to Florala. So. Florala's a really interesting town to me. I go through there when I'm heading back to Birmingham to see my wife's family, and their downtown area is really big for a really small town.
At one time, it was a bigger town, but yeah, you're right. You got a big lake right in the middle of it.
Lake Jackson's real pretty as well. I know Brian Rhodes, a local kid from Troy, was the head coach there for about 4 or 5 years.
And of course, it's right there on the line, the Florida line, and so forth. So,
Brad Rhodes, I remember him from my sports reporter days and newspaper days. He was one of my favorite players at Charles Henderson. He was really good.
Oh yeah, he sure was.
Yeah, he coaches at a big high school down in Navarre, I think now.
Well, I tell you what, he's a fine young man too, no question about it. Of course, a lot of good players have come through Charles Henderson High School, no question about it. New Brockton is off, as we mentioned. But now, as we did mention, Kinston is at Zion Chapel. That game will be played in Enterprise. I don't know how they'll work it out during the season. They'll probably play a lot of Thursday night games, I would think. Houston County is at Florala. Cottonwood is at Sampson this weekend, or just this Friday night. Flomaton is at Arrington. That ought to be a good one. That ought to be a real good one, Mike. In fact, I might try to drive down there for that one. Flomaton, a very good team, won the state title 2 years ago.
Let me ask y'all something. What if, some of these schools, their stadiums are too small to space out. Do you think that Troy and Troy University should offer a Memorial Stadium to some local teams on, like, Thursday night games?
They've already pushed Charles Henderson to Thursday night games.
But let me tell you this.
You got to have a day to clean.
Oh.
You got to have 24 hours for them to clean the stadium now.
I hate to use this wording, but who wants to bring the virus to town? Nothing. I mean, do you want to encourage people to come to your town with the virus the way it is? I don't know.
I tell you what, when you have 4 and 2 year olds and they go to preschool, they bring the colds back to the house, and everybody's got colds down there again.
I know it is. It's rough.
That's kind of what you live with when you got kids in preschool. I got my little one brings home a runny nose, and next thing my wife gets it, and I'll probably have it here in about 3 days.
Okay, now let me throw this interesting game out. Northside Methodist at Providence Christian, and that's a big rival game there. Where both of them are in Dothan. Northside Methodist was in the same classification that Pike Liberal Arts was in this year, and for several years they were in the Alabama Independence Association. They have now joined the High School Athletic Association, Alabama High School Athletic Association, as a full-fledged member I don't know if they can qualify for state championships or anything yet or not, but Flomaton is, excuse me, Northside Methodist is at Providence. Kenny Key's team, of course, Kenny grew up right here in Troy, played on the same team you did.
Yeah, he's 2 classes ahead of me. He was a wide receiver through his junior year, and then they moved him to a cornerback his senior year, and he was,
he was on the 80 championship team.
Undersized, but he was a fantastic football player.
And a defined coach. But again, just look how quick.
Rehoboth last week, 18-0, and our buddy's debut as the head coach. Your Pike out buddy. Golly, I'm drawing a blank. That was at Elba.
Pate Harrison.
Pate Harrison, yeah.
Boy, that was a big win for him. But you look out now. Hey, wherever Pate Harrison goes, he's going to win. He's a good football coach. You remember when the teams he had at Dale County High School? Boy, what a good team.
Yeah, he had the Henderson kid. He rushed for about 380 yards against Charles Henderson that night.
Yeah,
where did the kid go that rushed for about 1,000,000 yards last year? Remember from
the kid from Daleville.
Or Dale County. Did he go to some college?
I want to say he went to Georgia Southern.
Georgia Southern, that's right.
That's right. And high in the world, he came right through Troy, and he had the grades and everything.
I know.
But Troy's loaded. Troy University's loaded with running backs. Yeah. But again, look how quickly Northside Methodist became a full-fledged member of the Alabama High School Athletic Association, and Pike could do the same thing if they wanted to.
We've talked about it before. I'm going to leave it up to their leadership.
And they could play teams like Providence and teams like Cottonwood and teams like Lion Chapel and
Bradley.
Yeah, that's right. New Brockton. They could play a lot of those schools. Yeah. Geneva County is playing at Wicksburg. As we mentioned, Flomaton is at Arrington in a big game. I don't think this would be an area game. I wouldn't think, because Flomaton's on the about 10 miles from
you're talking about Pike LeBlanc. Pike LeBlanc could play Catholic of Montgomery.
Oh, yeah, they could. That's what I'm saying.
That'd be a good rivalry.
That's what I'm saying. No question about it. Elba is at Opp. Boy, what a shootout. Mike, Elba scored 60 last weekend, and so did Opp. Man, that might be fun to go see that shootout.
Yeah, Elba, I think, beat Delville 50-0, and then Opp beat like 67 or something.
I mean, you beat Daleville. Daleville's a good program. Now, one of the problems is they might not have had that many players transferring in and out, because Daleville is located right on the Fort Rucker line. You can walk 1 foot beyond the city limits of Daleville, and you're in Fort Rucker. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, they were just loaded with talent. I mean, Sean Stuckey played, linebacker at Vanderbilt, Rich Calhoun, and
you remember that catch up? You remember that catch?
They had the guy that Kilo played at Troy. That was one of the best wide receivers of all time. They had Sean Johnson that played in the SEC. I mean, they were just loaded back in the day. They were huge too. I mean, when they came off the bus.
Well,
they were just bigger than everybody.
You remember that catch Jay Corley made against them that night to preserve the win for Charles Henderson? Jay Corley.
Who won the game is, you had Devin and Kevin Flowers, and Devin blocked the kick to win the game.
Yeah, and of course that was a great
Flowers
game.
twins.
With no time left, Devin blocked the kick.
Yeah.
Devin had a great career at Alabama State, and Kevin played at Alabama.
Sure did. A lot of people forget that Kevin went on to Alabama.
He was on those probation teams and actually played a pretty good bit his senior year. Was in there at defensive end. Thanks to your Troy Messenger articles that you would write once a week or once a month, I had access to go to all those Alabama games and sit in the box as a journalist of the Troy Messenger. So I'd have a camera, and every once in a while I'd take a date with me, and then every once in a while I'd take buddies. I'll never forget, me and Blake Crow one time went to an Alabama game, and Blake was on the sidelines taking pictures, and I was up in the box eating stadium dogs.
Shame on you.
I've done that a couple times. It's fun, isn't it? Just act like a reporter.
I'll tell you this.
You were an actual journalist, Bill. You probably have done it many times, but of course, Dad, I'll never forget being in the stands at the Auburn Alabama game in Auburn, and Dad's on the field before the game.
Yeah, I'm out there in the middle of the field. I'm out there in the middle.
I think he even had Mom beside him wearing an Auburn sweatshirt.
No, that's what I was going to tell you. I told her, I said, now we're going to be sitting. You're going to be sitting in the press box, and I'm going to be out on the field. but you can't wear your colors. You can't show who you're for.
Yeah,
you can't be
gotta be
showing
impartial.
favoritism. You can't applaud or
Can't
anything
cheer.
like that. And so I went up at halftime. There she sat with that orange and blue sweater on, and I said, and sitting there drinking a Coca-Cola and eating a hot dog or whatever. I said, at least put a tablet in front of you, make you act like you're a member of the press. And she just
You know, I've been to.
and I'm sure she applauded and everything. That was a long time ago.
I've been to a couple of them at Alabama and Auburn and the big games, but a lot of times I worked at a weekly paper, so our paper would come out on Wednesday. I was on no deadline. The game would be old news by the time my paper came out, so I would take a notebook and act like I was doing something. But the funnest one I did was I was working at the Montgomery Independent as the editor, and I had to talk the Alabama Sports Information Department into giving me a press pass to the Alabama FSU game in Jacksonville. Y'all remember that one, Nick Saban's first year?
Yeah, I think Alabama lost that game to Bowden, no? Yeah, that's right.
So, because we didn't cover Alabama, but I finally talked the SID into giving me a press pass. I went down there with Rush and a bunch of his buddies on a golf outing, and we just partied and had a great time. Got a house at Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have these buses or train cabooses outside the stadiums in Jacksonville. We rented one of those, and we had a big party. And so I was feeling pretty good by the time I walked. And so I went to the game and covered it.
You were supposed to be the press.
Yeah, I covered it. But then I took a little camera, and so I said, for half the time I was in the press box, then I went down on the field, and I did snap a few pictures.
Yeah.
And but I went out for, like you did, I went for the coin toss at midfield, and I was about the only one out there, taking some pictures. So I was right out there with John Parker Wilson at midfield.
Yeah, you're right there.
Yeah, Dad and I used to get away with a lot of stuff back in the day. Dad was always good friends with Coach Fountain, and Charles Henderson, of course. And Coach Fountain was always gracious. And sometimes if we ever wanted to go to Auburn games, we would go as Charles Henderson coaches. And we would get in with the coaches going into the games. I remember one time we went to an Iron Bowl, and we were sitting with all the coaches. We were sitting with Spence McCracken and Ben Blackman, and I think, what's the coach of Troy? Is it not Ron Blackman? Ben and Brian Blackman.
Yeah,
so we're
that's
sitting with
right.
all these coaches, and I've got a blazer on and like a button-down shirt for some reason. I was dressed for the Iron Bowl. And apparently we were on TV the whole game, sitting in the end zone with all the coaches.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But I can remember one time we went to that, and I had your mother with me, and they were checking purses. And they found a little old pack of peanut butter cookies, a little package of Lance peanut butter cookies, and they took them.
Oh, my God.
I said, what do you do with those cookies? My wife wants those cookies. Said, and you're not allowed to carry food in the game.
You got to buy it from them.
You know who was always working the gate was the golf coach.
And now let me tell you what he did for me one time. I went through, then we were talking about 85,000 people at Auburn, and I went in as a coach, and I was a coach. I was part of the program. I did their ball games for 35 years. I was part of their program, and it wasn't that bad. And I got to my seat, and it was at the other side of the stadium, the complete other side of the stadium, from one goal post to another. And I was sitting there on the 2 or 3 rows high, watching the ball game, and then I heard a little disturbance down the row, and there he was, right there, Mike, the golf coach at Auburn, Mike Griffin, had my driver's license. He walked around through 85,000 people to get. I had left my driver's license up there when they were checking IDs, and he brought them to me. And how he found them, I could not. I asked him later on. He said, "Yeah, we know exactly who's sitting where." And if not, he would have never found me. And I could hear over the PA system, "Will Mike Amos please report to the North Gate? We have found your driver's license." They didn't do that, but they could have. But you remember going to some of the Alabama games? They had a very distinct
PA announcer. His name was Pepper Rogers or Rogers Peppers.
No, it was not.
The Birmingham. Yeah.
No, I had him listed
Pepper.
just the other day.
It was
What?
definitely Pepper somebody.
Yeah, that's right. He'd been there for years, and he
I
would
love
say something like this. He would say, "Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The gates to Legion Field are now open. The time 2:05. Stadium number 24 enters the game for Alabama.
That's it. That's the way he did it.
Then number 65, Mike Amos, enters the game for the first time tonight, and there goes the final gun."
And he would say, Nathan gains 7 yards, first down.
Will Dr.
Alabama.
Will Dr. 945 please call his office? Or will John Julie Rogers, will you please call your mother?
I remember the most bizarre one I remember was an Iron Bowl with Walter Lewis's senior year against Auburn. It came down to the end like they always do, and there was a tornado warning. And about in the end of the third quarter, they said there is a tornado warning.
Yeah.
Nobody left, but and then the bottom hit, lightning. Nowadays they would have canceled that game in 1 second. And Auburn scored the go-ahead touchdown right before that storm hit. And then once that storm hit, there was no way Alabama was
I will tell you something that a lot of you folks out here remember this well, and a lot of you were there. I can remember when the old Auburn gymnasium caught on fire and burned up during a game, and they did not stop the game. They didn't stop the game for that. You remember that, Mike?
Yeah.
And you remember they did not even stop the game. And I have seen tornado warnings many times and lightning everywhere, and they didn't stop the game. Now, if it's lightning
within 20 miles,
15 to 20 mile radius, they're going to shut the game down.
I wonder what would have happened in the Iron Bowl today, because they would have stopped it, and and then they would have played. It would have been 3 hours later. It was still bad. Now, I want to tell you the truth. When you're a college student, you drink during those games. You're stressed out.
That's Coca-Cola now. You drink Coca-Cola now.
You're stressed out.
I actually start drinking all morning, don't you?
It was a tough loss to your rival. You're fighting the crowd. And then I didn't take the bus for some reason. No, because it was Thanksgiving. Everybody was home. So I had to drive back to Tuscaloosa in my hand-me-down diesel Olds 98 that was once Mom's, and the car started breaking down when I was. I had a friend with me, and we had our dates.
Yeah. And
you're fighting the football traffic, and your car is breaking down, and you've been drinking, and your team just lost. That was the most stressful drive from Legion Field back to Tuscaloosa I've ever had. But man, I quit drinking well before the game was over, and I sucked it up and somehow got us home. And then that car was in the shop for 3 weeks.
I was at the game where it was the wettest I've ever been in my life at a football game. The worst rainstorm I've ever seen in my life was when Kenny Stabler ran 50 yards for a touchdown late in the ball game and beat Auburn at Legion Field. And that was a huge win. And, of course, that run made Stabler famous.
Will they have stopped the game today?
No question. But people had plastic, huge sheets of plastic. I'm talking about everybody was just underneath. It was just torrential game, just storm over and over. And finally, Auburn had dominated the game. They had kicked field goals to lead 6-0. And Stabler got it on a regular option. And Auburn fans to this day say they tackled the end over there, and he went 47 yards for a touchdown and won the game. And then after the game, my wife's family, a lot of them are big Alabama fans and on one side, and then a lot of Auburn fans. And that night, it was just almost embarrassing. I was dating my wife at the time, and that night, hey, you could hear a pin drop. Yeah. Nobody was saying anything. Then comes in the Alabama guys, and it was a war practically. Let's go down the line right here. We're going to put you on hold, Mike. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Hey, Mike.
Thanks, Will Matthews.
Where you been, Will? We've been waiting on you, buddy. What's going on?
Just see if we're going to have football or not.
Well, I tell you what, it looks pretty good from here. Troy plays in 9 days at Veteran Stadium in Troy. Carroll High, buddy, they got off on a rough road this past weekend, Will.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a rough year, but Paul's going to have a great year. They got a really good team.
They got a real good quarterback, got big old wide receivers. And, you're right, it doesn't, as good as Paul is, it doesn't really say that Carroll's not going to be good. Now, that stadium, I mentioned on this show the other day before the game last week, I said they're going to be playing at Will Matthews Stadium. Now, who is the Matthews here at the stadium in Ozarks named after?
No relation to us.
Are you serious?
No relation.
I thought that was your uncle.
No. My father was from Tennessee. And he came to Ozark in the 50s.
Yeah.
But Dr. Matthews was the only doctor in Ozark during World War II.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, but let's
Imagine having one doctor.
Yeah, let me bring Mike back in. Hold on a minute.
He was a busy doctor.
All right, we got both of you in here now. Mike Amos is in here. We got Zoom available. Mike, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm on the phone.
Okay, Mike Amos is on the phone from Grayton Beach. And, of course, we got the Honorable Will Matthews, Judge Will Matthews, Mike.
Yeah, I'm interested in talking to Will. Did you get to watch any of Phil Mickelson making his senior tour debut? He, of course, finished 22 under and won kind of going away yesterday. Phil, I'll tell you what, putting and his wedge game looked incredible on that tour. It makes you realize, I mean, he's just a man at 50 that's in incredible shape, playing against a bunch of other guys in their 50s. I mean, it's not even close how much more talent he has than those guys.
Well, the other guy that just started was Furyk, too. He just started playing on that tour, too. Mm-hmm. And he won the first time out.
Yeah, both of them won the first time out.
Yeah.
Can you name the person that won the first time out before them?
Doug Barron. Nope.
No.
Doug Barron. Absolutely.
Who now? But Doug Barron?
Doug Barron, my cousin.
Wait a minute now. He's not kin to you now. Wait a minute now. Everybody's kin to you. You claim that this.
Was that his first tournament? I thought he won played the British Open seniors and then played on the regular tour.
He did, but Michael, that tournament did not count. It's not a tour.
Not a seniors tour event, yeah.
Okay, that's a European tour.
Yeah, Michael, he came in 5th in that tournament, and you would think he would be exempt for the next tournament, which was the one he won, and he had to qualify for that one.
Oh boy! Well,
he shot five under on Tuesday. It was a weird tournament. It started on Monday and ended yesterday.
Yeah, he ended up 7 under for the tournament.
I would like to see that televised. Did they televise it?
Oh,
yeah, it was on the Golf Center
every day.
Yeah, but why are they? You're right. That they're starting these tournaments now on Monday or Tuesday. It's weird.
To get more exposure for that league.
I tell you what, it makes you want to go to the Ozark Mountains. Those mountain courses in the Ozark were beautiful.
Oh yeah, that resort is a very nice resort.
Yeah.
I watched some the other day, and I tell you who can still play is Bernhard Longer, and he's about, how old is Bernhard, Will?
Oh, he's great.
He just turned 63.
Man, he is amazing.
He's the best. He's the best on that tour. If you looked at who's won most tournaments, you would have to say he has.
Well, I think they say he's won 40.
He's won 41, and Hale Irwin's won 45 times on the senior tour. So
Hale Irwin's won 45 times. Hale Irwin, you know what he's famous for, don't you?
He was the defensive back at
That's
Colorado.
right, he was a football player at Colorado and became a very good. But you know what?
Didn't he win 3 U.S. Opens, Will?
Yes, 3 U.S. Opens.
3 U.S. Opens or senior opens?
No, 3 U.S. Opens.
I don't know if that'll ever be done. Man, that is something.
Tigers won 4.
Oh, has he? I knew that might be coming. Yeah.
Nicholas won 4 U.S. Opens.
And that's the only majors Hale Irwin won, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I've always liked him because I tell you something about Hale Irwin. He played in a lot of tournaments, so you never saw him sit out a tournament. He played every week. And some of them do that and some don't.
The reason he won so many they've changed the game so much now, you know. But back in those days, the U.S. Open, you'd win with even par would win the U.S. Open.
Of course, Davis Love will be.
U.S. Open at 45 years old.
Now Davis Love qualifies for that now, doesn't he? He'll probably end up winning some of them.
Michael, they're playing the PGA, they're playing the U.S. Open this year at Wingfoot, and Irwin won it one year, and he was about 7 or 8 over par for the tournament, one tournament.
Yeah. We're going to take a short break right here, Will. We're going to come right back with you. We're going to take a short break. This show is brought to you by Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass. Right now, they're having their inventory sale, and they're practically giving away great deals, no question, on Dodge, Chrysler, and Jeep and Ram trucks today on the bypass right here in Troy. And of course, you're not going to beat a deal from Premier. And I'm telling you, nobody will. We'll be back.
Our history is woven with the stories of those we serve. At Max, we've been a good community partner for 65 years. Max is dedicated to providing dependable financial services and to supporting our communities. We volunteer our time and share our resources. As a credit union, we've returned millions of dollars back to our members, local nonprofits, and small businesses. Max is honored to be a part of your story. We look forward to serving you for years to come.
Right here, right now. It's a double dose of savings. Yes. Summer clearance event savings. Plus Labor Day savings. 2020 Wranglers. Start at $289 a month. 2020 Ram 1500. Save it to $17,377. The biggest selection. Better discount. Best deal. New 2020 Jeep Cherokee. Save up to $10,000. Save over $9,800 on new Jeep Grand Cherokee. Bad credit, no credit, it doesn't matter. Shop us at PremierTroy.com and save thousands. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Here at Bill Jackson Chevrolet in Troy, we've been doing business the right way for 31 years. But don't take our word for it. We feel our customers express it the best.
Been honest in everything we've discussed with them.
When they said Jackson Satisfaction, they really mean it.
The Jackson Satisfaction is real.
By its very nature, doing big things takes resilience and strength. You did the hard part. You did it, and we'll go farther still. Max is proud to be your champion, removing obstacles that get in your way. We make technology easy, saving and funds access uncomplicated, and provide help when and how you want it. You control your money with expert guidance from Max Credit Union. Smart money made simple.
Why are they playing in Montgomery?
That's the first game of the year. Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by the Alabama Rural Connection, and we appreciate them, and also Troy Health and Rehab, the long-term health care, short-term rehab. Troy Health and Rehab on the Elba Enterprise Highway right here in Troy. Trojan Auto Parts, my good buddy Mike Kilcrease, and we appreciate him so much. Been a long time sponsor of this show, and we appreciate him. And Max Federal Credit Union, and located on the bypass right here in Troy, and numerous locations all over Central and South Alabama. Max Federal Credit Union and Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram trucks on the bypass right here in Troy, where they've got a huge inventory sale going on this week. Austin P against Central Arkansas, going at it Saturday afternoon or Saturday night in Montgomery at Crampton Bowl. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff. This is the first college football game of the season for this is a Division I AA game, and of course this is part of their showcase, and the guy that heads it up is one Johnny Williams from
he was our guest yesterday,
former Troy athletic director, and he was our guest yesterday, and he puts this together every year for ESPN.
And lots of people are watching this, including Walt Disney owns the game, which is really ESPN. but Johnny runs it and puts it on, and you just imagine all the logistics and all the planning he had to do to plan for a game with COVID.
Every major college in the country and a lot of the Division I AA's that are real conscious about seating people going to the games because of the virus will be watching this game very, very closely. And of course, Johnny mentioned on this show yesterday how they'll expect everybody to sit at least 6 feet apart. I'm trying to sit this about like this from Bill Rice. And
you mentioned how many crowds will come from Austin P and from Central Arkansas. That's a pretty good drive to Montgomery.
I don't know, but I'll tell you one thing. Y'all know their fight song, don't you?
Let's go P.
Let's go P. Let's go P. That's Austin P, located in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Well, Johnny said, to answer your question, he said they gave the school 700 tickets. They didn't sell tickets.
They're not selling tickets. You're right.
They distributed them to sponsors who I guess bought them, and they're distributing. He said they'll have approximately 2,500 tickets that have been allocated for Crampton Bowl, which seats 25,000.
That's right.
26,000, I think.
Something like that. Yeah.
So there you go. And they'll have food. It'll be prepackaged. They've got a system where you can sit together with your friends, from up to 9 people, I think he said.
That's right, yeah.
But then they have a computer system that blocks off all the other seats around you, so you're going to have a 6-foot diameter circle around you where nobody else can sit.
Yeah. Mike, where our tickets were in Tuscaloosa for so long, I wonder how they'll do that, because a lot of people use these chair backs too, and I was wondering how they're going to handle their chair backs.
Surely they'll still sell those.
I know it, but at the same time, though, you're supposed to put them in the actual seat. They're supposed to.
The way it's going to work in Tuscaloosa,
I bet they're going to have to do away with that.
You're going to be spread out.
I bet they're going to have to do away with those chair backs. I think they'll have to do away with the chair backs, because a lot of people are not going to get the exact seat they've had in the past.
Well, they'll be able to tell everybody where they're going to be able to seat, so I guess you'll have, an opportunity to do that if you wanted to.
Of course, Johnny Williams, this is on Games on ESPN. What now?
Go ahead.
Mike, let me interrupt y'all.
Yeah, do good.
Alabama. I have a friend who gets 10 season tickets every year.
Yeah.
Okay? He's only going to be allowed 2 tickets, and he's got to choose between Georgia and Texas A&M to both those games, or Auburn and the other 2 games they play at home, whoever that is. And that's it. But Georgia and Texas A&M are the 2 he's going to.
And it's going to be
And you got to pay the normal rate as well.
Well, you still have to pay Tide Pride and all that?
He'll get a prorated thing from the tickets. He'll get that back, but his Tide Pride, he still has to keep his priority. He has to still donate the same amount of money.
Okay. Who does Alabama open up with? Missouri. Now, how many fans do you think will be in the stadium for that game?
Columbia, Missouri, that stadium holds around 80,000, I would say.
I was there,
20,000.
No, I think it holds about 70,000.
Probably be less than that. Auburn was going to be like 17,000. They're 88,000 fans. Alabama has 100,000 seats, and they're going to be 20,000.
It's 20%, so I think that stadium seats about 70,000.
This is
so
on
it'll be
Auburn,
14,000 people.
Open their seasons on September the 26th.
Alabama turns around and has to play Texas A&M the next week, so that's going to be a really tough turnaround to play A&M. A&M's going to be pretty good.
This is going to be a logistics nightmare. I'll tell you that right now. And then also, I'm sure they're going to try to test your temperature when you walk in the game too, with that gun. What did you call that gun yesterday?
Yeah, the problem is it's still a month from playing.
I know it is. It's over a month.
Troy will actually play this Saturday, but next Saturday, Troy will possibly already they'll be playing their 3rd game when Alabama plays.
Yeah. In fact, Troy opens up the 5th against Louisiana Monroe, and that's a conference game. That's the Sun Belt Conference game, and then comes back the next week and help me a little bit here with this. Troy's
off the next week, and then
they're off for the 12th. That's right.
To Middle Tennessee.
Then they go to Middle Tennessee on the 19th, and then they go to Provo, Utah, to play Brigham Young on the 26th. Is that right?
Yeah, I want to go. Mike, if you go, then talk to me, and I want to go. I'll go with you. I'll drive you out there.
Well, that is a good drive, and I've been offered a plane ticket.
I would get on a plane before I drive out there. That's almost driving cross country right there.
Who do we know that has a private jet? Let's go.
There's about 10 or 12 people at the airport that have them.
Yeah.
Really? 12 people in Troy have private jets?
I would think so.
No, Sanders probably owns 10 or 20 of them more.
Lockheed Martin probably has some.
Between the Campbells and the Sanders?
Yeah, the Campbells and the Sanders, yeah.
I have flown on I'm sure you have too. I have flown on a private jet a couple times. This is a way to go.
We used to fly with Benny Beard back in the day. I'll never forget. We'd fly to Alabama games, and then after the Alabama game, we'd fly to a Troy game, and then we'd fly back.
I'm going to tell you the story one time. I don't think this is ugly, or I shouldn't put it on. This is part of human life.
You told this story on there.
All right. So let me tell you what happened. We flew up to the Troy game, to the Alabama game that afternoon in Tuscaloosa.
We went to Tuscaloosa, then we went to Florence.
And then we went to Florence on one of Wiley Sanders' planes, and went to Florence. And then after the game with Troy in North Alabama, we had a car that was driven up there for us, and we drove out to the airport to get on the plane. But on the way, we stopped by a convenience store, and I noticed the guy bought 2 big 3-liter, not 2-liter jars of Mellow Yellow.
Uh-huh.
And after we got on the bus, I said, "What's the Mellow Yellow for?" He said, "Have you ever had to go to the bathroom at 20,000 feet?" I'll say it again. Have you ever had to go to the bathroom at 20,000 feet?
What can you do?
That was their bathroom, the Mellow Yellow bottle, whatever.
I hadn't thought about that. A lot of these little planes don't have a bathroom.
They don't. I'm sure there's a way. But I thought that was funny.
Anybody play as well as Dustin Johnson did last week when he shot 30 under?
And that's not an easy golf course, Michael. That's a hard golf course. And he just obliterated it.
Well,
I've never seen him putt so well. He's putting out of his mind.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's putting like you just wouldn't believe.
Well, he drives the ball so good. He's got wedged to all these 480-yard par fours.
He looked like he'd ride a Bronco. It seemed like he'd be a Bronco rider. He looked like a Texan. Bow-legged he'd be. You ever knows how bow-legged he is? He can hit a golf ball, though, can't he?
If he punts like that, he's going to be a definite factor in the U.S. Open and the Masters.
I tell you somebody that's one of my favorite golfers, but that has not done as well on the Seniors Tour was Couples. Fred Couples has not dominated it like I thought he might.
Well, Couples is in his 60s now. He's won about 15 times on the Senior Tour.
Anthony, I didn't know he won that much.
Couples didn't play the Senior Tour till he was about 55 or 6. He played the regular tour for a long time.
Yeah, now he's another guy that hits it along.
Mickelson won't play the Senior Tour probably until he's 55 again. He'll probably maybe play a tournament here and there, but he's going to stay on the PGA Tour.
He'll play in the championships, I'm sure. They don't. But the thing about it, they don't pay that much. You could be 20th on the regular tour.
He won 450,000 yesterday. That's not too bad.
Well, that's not too bad. But look at what.
I always think if they're going to give me money, he's going to finish either first, second, or third in every senior event, and he'll make more playing the senior tournaments than he will finish 30th in the regular tour.
Yeah, $30,000 a week's not bad money,
But when Uncle Sam gets his cut and your caddy gets his cut,
he won $700,000 3 weeks ago on the PGA Tour when he finished second.
Yeah. Oh, what I'm saying, I know he wins a lot of money, but I was thinking that's why a lot of them won't. They'll stay on the real tour for a long time because the money's so much more.
we talk about Phil Mickelson. Did y'all hear a tournament a couple of weeks ago? He was playing in it. Might have been the PGA, and he finished well back. He wasn't in contention, but he sat down with the TV crew for a while and did some commentating for about an hour and a half. And I thought he was fantastic. He was smart, funny. had great knowledge. So in the future, if Phil Mickelson wants a gig, I'm sure any of the networks would hire him in a hurry to, take Nick Faldo's spot as the announcer.
It is right at 8 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?
I think they're at school.
We'll be back with more of Today in L.A. right after this.
Columbus is one.
Our history is woven with the stories of those we serve. At Max, we've been a good community partner for 65 years. Max is dedicated to providing dependable financial services and to supporting our communities. We volunteer our time and share our resources. As a credit union, we've returned millions of dollars back to our members, local nonprofits, and small businesses. Max is honored to be a part of your story. We look forward to serving you for years to come.
Right here, right now. It's a double dose of savings. Yes. Summer clearance event savings. Plus Labor Day savings. 2020 Wranglers start at $289 a month. 2020 Ram 1500. Save it to $17,377. The biggest selection. Better discount. Best deal. New 2020 Jeep Cherokee. Save up to $10,000. Save over $9,800 on new Jeep Grand Cherokee. Bad credit, no credit, it doesn't matter. Shop us at PremierTroy.com and save thousands. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa know-how. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa know-how team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Here at Bill Jackson Chevrolet in Troy, we've been doing business the right way for 31 years. But don't take our word for it. We feel our customers express it the best.
Been honest in everything we've discussed with them.
When they say Jackson satisfaction, they really mean it.
The Jackson satisfaction is real.
By its very nature, doing big things takes resilience and strength. You did the hard part. You did it, and we'll go farther still. Max is proud to be your champion, removing obstacles that get in your way. We make technology easy, saving and funds access uncomplicated, and provide help when and how you want it. You control your money with expert guidance from Max Credit Union. Smart money made simple.
War Eagle, fly down the field. War Eagle, the Auburn Tigers getting ready for a big September the 26th date with who, guys?
Kentucky, I think.
Kentucky Wildcats. Is that true, Mike? Auburn opens up with Kentucky?
Yeah.
The Auburn Tigers open up with Kentucky, and the Crimson Tide of Alabama goes to Missouri. Is that right? Who do they open up with?
In the past, you would say, well,
It took to Missouri, yeah.
you would say Kentucky will win the basketball game, but now you can't say that. Auburn would be likely to win the basketball game with Kentucky.
See, this is only one I have to hotwire.
Big Al that's a bad sign for Alabama this year.
Apparently, Sammy Rachel's had 4 back operations, forced him to leave the tour and take a club pro job near his home in the Florida Panhandle. He played the PGA Tour from 75 to 1985.
That was a good run.
Yeah, exactly right. The Crimson Tide of Alabama, as Big Al goes down again. Come on, Al. As the Crimson Tide plays in Columbia, Mississippi against the Missouri Tigers. And, at one time, Missouri beat Alabama a few times, especially when they had Dan Devine was the head coach. Dan Devine is out of all the coaches that were good against Bear Bryant, Dan Devine beat Alabama every time I think that they played each other at when he was at Missouri and also later on at Notre Dame.
Yep. Alabama opened with Missouri in the mid-'70s and got beat pretty handedly. So that's a bad memory
Big
there.
Al providing background music. And ever since you were a little boy, you've heard this right here. And, of course, did it give you chill bumps whenever they'd call your daddy's name out?
I don't know.
it did me, and I can hear John Forney right now. He is hit and knocked down by Bill Rice at the Alabama 14-yard line, and Alabama will take over on downs as the youngster from Troy is being lifted up off the ground by Coach Paul Bryant across the way.
You know, I just reread.
That was John Forney talking about Bill Rice, and I'm a little boy sitting at home hearing, that's Bill Rice from Troy. That's Bill Rice from Troy. He just caught a pass against Texas in the Blue Bonnet Bowl. He's going to go to the complete the Bill Rice at the 50, Bill Rice at the 40, Bill Rice at the 30, the 20, the 10, and he's going to be hauled down at the 6-yard line.
That's all right.
And Alabama has to settle for a field goal, and they tied the University of Texas 3-3 in the Blue Bonnet Bowl.
That's right. If Dad wouldn't have run out of gas, he could have won that.
But I'm a little boy, knowing that I've gone over and watched him practice many times on the old high school on top of that bank. You ever been to that bank?
Well, he was just one of these many small-town boys that played for Alabama and Auburn.
Yeah, he was one of these many small-town boys at 6'5", about 220 when he first got to Alabama, and, of course, could run and played offense and defense, didn't he?
Yeah, he played. He always told me the only reason he played is because he could play good defense.
Oh, Gary Hollis is watching this show today. He was on that team with Bill Rice at Charleston, Troy High School, and I was awfully proud. But I can hear Coach Bryant on his show. You know, he's drinking that Coca-Cola and he's eating those Golden Flake potato chips, and he said. Big hit by Bill Rice, Coach. Bill's from Troy. Saw Bill's mom and daddy at the game Saturday.
He probably talked about his wife was originally from Troy, Mary Harmon from Troy.
I know, but just think that you probably got a chill bumps when I'm saying this. I saw Bill's mama and daddy at the game Saturday.
He mentioned me on this show one time. I came up and visited him with Charles Bradshaw, and he said, I saw Charlie Bradshaw and Martha's son, Charles, and his friend Bill Rice came to see me.
Yeah. Mark, his grandson, was a few years back.
Yeah, Mark Tyson. He was 2 years older than me. We were in the same fraternity, and Mark's son is now a quarterback at Alabama.
Yeah.
Guess where Bear Bryant got married?
Ozark, yeah, you're right.
Wait a minute now. Who said he got married in Ozark? Will, she was from Banks.
They got married in Ozark. Judge Dee's probation judge married them. They were both in college, and neither one of them's parents knew they were getting married. They went down there and Judge Dee's married.
You know, that's funny that Coach Bryant hated his players to get married, because he wanted them to concentrate on football. But he himself, when he was a student, got married.
Yeah. He married Mary Harmon Bryant from Troy, and her sister was Annie Harmon.
Yeah.
They taught schools here for many years, and it's always nice to hear him mention Troy. He said, Bill's from Troy. So is my wife, Mary Harmon.
Mary Harmon Black, and that's the same Blacks from Henderson, Black, and Green. That's the family.
And
so when you sat down with Bryant, that had to be in the 80s with Bradshaw. Did he remember your dad pretty well, Bill?
Oh yeah, there were a lot of times he knew my dad well and did a lot of favors for my dad. I'll give you an example.
Who are you talking about?
Coach Bryant.
I'm just saying with Bear Bryant, he coached so many players for so many years, and his health was so bad. I was just wondering if he still remembered his dad when they had conversations.
Yeah, very well. And he always looked after his players. He always kept up with them. Had a great memory. But I'll give you a good example of the type of guy Coach Bryant was to help his former players.
Sure.
We lived in Opelika, as y'all know, in mid-'70s, right next door to Auburn, and Dad was the president of the Lee County University of Alabama Alumni Center.
That was so strange. Wasn't it?
Yeah, so Dad said, well, I'm going to do something to raise money for a scholarship and help this chapter while I'm president. So he contacted Coach Bryant and said, will you come and speak to our annual meeting? Coach Bryant, of course, said, sure, I will.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that Coach Bryant had ever been to Auburn, Alabama.
Oh,
he flew in on the university plane, I remember it, and landed at the Auburn airport, and the event was held at the Saugahatchee Country Club. Big, huge success, got tons of media attention. David Housel wrote a story about it when Alabama played Auburn for the first time in Auburn. David Housel was there at that event.
Yeah.
And that was because, my dad asked Coach Bryant, will you do this? And he did it. And there was a great picture on the front page of the Opelika Auburn News of Coach Bryant. He landed at the airport. Tons of Alabama fans were out there to greet him. And one of them was my little brother, who was probably 8 years old, wearing a net Alabama jersey, running up, shaking Coach Bryant's hand, and Coach Bryant is smiling as big as can be, and he has his hands on Bobby's head, and Dad's right next to him, just looking.
Oh boy, yeah, that was something.
So we still got that picture.
Yeah. Will Matthews tells the story. Of course, Coach Bryant used to play in the Luverne Invitational every year. He'd come every year, but you remember a certain time he went there that was sort of a funny story. Tell us about it, Will.
Well, he played with this preacher, and it was one of the years I won the tournament 3 years in a row, so I retired the trophy. Well, anyway, he played with this preacher all day, and the preacher kept telling him, Coach Bryant, those are the finest red pants I've ever seen. I love those red pants. And he kept telling him over and over and over. Well, it came to the end of the day, and it's time for Coach Bryant to go to the airport, and they needed somebody to drive him out there to meet the plane. And so the preacher drove him out there, and Coach Bryant pulled those pants out on the plane, pulled them off, threw them at him, and said, here, you SOB, you like them better.
Wait a minute now. Will, now, a lot of people can't believe everything you say. That can't be true.
Yeah, that'd be a great story. I hope that is true.
Will, it can't be true, Will. It can't be.
Well, listen to this. Now, I told this before. I used to play golf for Coach Bryant.
Yeah.
When I was in law school at Alabama.
Oh, I didn't know that.
My golf coach at Vanderbilt was Jess Neely.
Yeah.
Remember Jess Neely?
Former football coach.
That's right. Jess Neely coached at Clemson and Vandy and Rice. He gave Bear Bryant his first job at Vandy.
Yay.
Coach Bryant got out of...
Was assistant coach.
Yeah.
That's right. Anyway, Coach Neely was my golf coach. Back then, they didn't pay anybody to be a golf coach. He was a retired athletic director of Vandy. So they just let him do it. Something to do. He's 80 years old. For 4 years, I would drive Coach Neely. I'd drive his Cadillac, and we'd take another car to the tournaments. And I'd say, Coach, I'm from Alabama, and I've always heard the story of Tommy Lewis coming off the bench to tackle Dickie Magley in the Cotton Bowl when you were coaching at Rice. Tell me what happened. No, would not happen. Would not tell me. For 4 years he didn't tell me. Well, the last tournament I played in, I said, Coach, I'm going to law school in Alabama. I'll never probably see you again. Just tell me, I promise I won't tell anybody. Well, he said when it happened, the referee came over to see me. And he said, Coach Neely, I don't know what to do. And he said, I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to line us up for the extra point.
It was in a bowl game, wasn't it? Was it a bowl game?
It was in the Cotton Bowl. It was in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
I think it was a 55 Cotton Bowl. Anyway, Coach Neely cussed. And he never cussed in his life. But he cussed the referee. And he said, to this day, I've always regretted doing that. And that's why I hadn't told that story to anybody. Well, it goes up about a year. I'm in law school at Alabama, and I get this call. Is this Will Matthews? I said, yeah. Coach Bryant, I want you to come over to my office tomorrow and visit me.
Oh, hey, Will.
Will, now this is too much, Will. This is too much.
It gets better. I said, I don't know who this is, but you sound a lot like Coach Bryant, but I know it's one of my friends putting somebody up to do this. And I hung up on him.
Oh, my God.
He calls back.
Oh, God, Will.
And he says, damn it, young man, don't hang up that phone. Jess Neely told me to call you. I said, oh, he said Jess Neely. I said, all right. He said, well, I want you to come see me. I went and saw Coach Bryant. and I bet I was there an hour and a half. It was fascinating.
Are you serious, Will? Nobody's ever been able to do that.
Well, listen to this. He says, we play golf at 9 o'clock every Saturday at Indian Hills Country Club, and I want you to come play golf with me Saturday. So I did. I show up, and there's about 15 or 20 men on the putting green. And they're choosing up teams. And Coach Bryant says, now that young man over there, he's on my team. Y'all pick everybody else. I played golf with Coach Bryant probably 25 times.
No way, Will, no way.
Well, you've been on the show for years. I've never heard this.
No, I never heard it either, Will.
I don't tell this story.
How nervous were you playing golf with Bear Bryant? Did you ever shoot low?
No, and I'm going to tell you something. He was not a bad golfer.
Uh-huh.
Well, I know, but what's your lowest round with him? Did you shoot in the 60s with him?
Oh, yeah. Indian Hills was easy. And this was back when I just got out of Vandy, and I was still playing good.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah.
And, he said, you ought to play in the Indian Hills Invitational. I said, all right, I guess I'll play in it. I came in second, so Mason Rudolph's son beat me. And I don't know where he went to school.
Yeah.
But he was still, I think he went to Alabama. I think he played at Alabama.
But, you were about as close to him as Jerry Pate was, wasn't you?
Well, listen, he lived on number 3 at Indian Hills.
Yeah.
Up by the green. And it was a long par 5 went up on top of the hill. And his house was on top of the hill next to the green.
I've been to it.
And I shouldn't tell this, but he would say, Will, take me to the basement. I'd go around to the basement. He'd go in there and come out with a bottle of scotch. Barry Arvin doesn't know I drink while I play golf.
Oh, gosh.
My goodness, Will, these are crazy stories.
Oh, yeah. He went to the hairdresser. She went to the hairdresser every Saturday while he played golf. So, he'd go get his bottle of scotch.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I enjoy it. And that's how I knew he got married in Ozark.
Yeah, What?
Yeah.
What was his reason he got married in Ozark?
Well, that's how he told him. He told him.
He said that.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Nobody knew. I mean, it was like they eloped.
Yeah, I got you.
He was a fascinating man. He played hard when he coached hard and worked hard during the season.
Yeah.
And man, he helped so many people and knew so many people. One of the reasons I knew him and got to visit with him was not because of my dad, but my uncle, Bobby Rice, was a civil engineer for the University of Alabama and later became the director of athletic facilities.
That's right.
But Coach Bryant knew my Uncle Bobby well, and I mean, he would have something wrong with
probably told him off a lot of times.
Well, he would have something wrong with his house, and the civil engineer he knew was Uncle Bobby, so they lived in the same neighborhood in Northport, and he called up Bobby and said, Bobby, you come over here and I got something, I want you to get up on my roof and tell me what's going on there. And so a couple times I got to go see Coach Bryant with Uncle Bobby, got me in, and I remember one time with my late cousin Robert, my first cousin, he went in there with us, and he was probably 9 or 10 years old, and he wanted the address or some information about Jeff Rutledge or Tony Nathan, one of his heroes at Alabama, and he was not shy around Coach Bryant. He didn't know who he was. And Coach Bryant just couldn't have been nicer. He said, okay, look, hold on. And he'd go talk to his secretary, who's famous too, and say, so-and-so, will you get this young man this information he needs? And
oh, gosh. That is amazing.
Bryant lived in the same house the whole time he was there. It's a very modest house.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not that big a house, really.
Yeah. It's an Indian.
I heard stories of Bryant from friends of Birmingham. I know the Falkenbergs. He was good friends with Coach Bryant through National Bank of Commerce, and he tells all these legendary Vegas stories of Bryant. Apparently, Bryant used to go to Vegas a lot, and there was all kinds of just amazing stories from that.
But then there was a hotel in downtown Birmingham that was called Coach Bryant's headquarters. Do y'all know what hotel that was?
Roosevelt, wasn't it?
No, not the Roosevelt.
Oh,
wasn't the Tutwiler?
The Tutwiler Hotel. I think Alabama stayed a lot in Bessemer, but I think they stayed some in Tutwiler. But Coach Bryant was seen at the Tutwiler Hotel many times.
You know, he was
Yeah.
from such poverty, and then he wanted everything to be first class, and so he worked the heck out of his players. But man, he also treated them as well as he could. Like when they went on trips, it was they're going to stay at the finest hotel, and then, you know, when they went to bowl games, he was going to treat them. He just wanted them to think they were special.
Yeah, well, you know, they talked to.
Bryant. Yeah, did you know Coach Bryant paid for the band when they went on the road?
No.
No way.
He paid 100% of the band expenses to every road game as long as he was there coaching.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
Well,
was
he
huge.
started that scholarship fund for the children of his ex-players. His son, Paul Bryant Jr., has really kept going. But I bet there must be.
Rob Simmons, his dad was Jim Simmons, big defensive end, big 6'5" player out of Mississippi, and
Tupelo.
he went to Alabama on the Bryant scholarship.
Another thing I can tell you about Coach Bryant that nobody knows. When he was at Texas A&M, he was making about $15,000 or $20,000 a year. Okay, that's all he made.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he was paid. Jess Neely was at Rice, and Jess Neely was making like $70,000 or $80,000 a game. They had an 80,000 seat stadium, and they sold it out every week.
God.
And Rice was a big deal back then.
Yeah, it was. They have a 70,000 seat stadium on campus.
That's right.
Rice
And
Stadium.
Rice was a big deal. Well, Jess Neely, Paul called Jess Neely, and he said, Coach, I need a little money to buy a house. Will you loan me some money? And he said, well, how much are they paying you, Coach? He said, like Tennessee. He said, you need to get a raise. I mean, you're a good coach. Well, Jess Neely called whoever at Texas A&M and got him a raise.
How about that?
He never forgot it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, if somebody did a favor, he did favors for people, but if somebody did a favor for him, he remembered it, yeah.
You know, and everybody.
What do you think Bryant, in his last year in Alabama at 83, what do you think Bryant made? Do you think he made $100,000?
He made $1 less than the president of the university. I know that. He never let himself get paid more than the university president.
But he was on the board at Ziegler's. You know, my good friend Rusty Gibson, a local attorney, big-time attorney in Tuscaloosa, he and I grew up together right here in Troy, the Gibson clan on Shellhorn Highway in Troy. Of course, he was a good football player.
He lives on Indian Hills Golf Course, too.
He lives right next door to Jimmy, the big outdoorsman. Well, no, he married Jimmy daughter, Catherine.
I'll tell you who else lives on Indian Hills is Woody Ingram. Lives on
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He was a player and former athletic director. He's the one that told me that Bobby Marlowe stories about Bobby Marlowe that were really a lot of fun. But of course, you know, you could probably tell stories of Coach Bryant because he was such a legendary
Well, that's
figure.
a great story. Will's, I mean, I never knew his golf coach was the former football coach at Rice, the longtime athletic director at Vanderbilt, the man who helped hire that coach with Coach Bryant, I guess, as an assistant when he was just out of Alabama.
That's right.
When Bear Bryant was at Kentucky, you know, he was head football coach at Kentucky, and Charlie Bradshaw, I think, was one of his assistant coaches, and
played for him.
It had a lot of great players. Of course, one of them was a lineman, a big lineman, Bob.
Yeah, you've told that story.
Yeah.
George Blanda, Bay Perilli. Yeah.
I think Howard Schellenberger played for him.
Yeah, Schellenberger played for him.
He played at Alabama before Coach Bryant. He was a little. They were both former Alabama players.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
no, you said Howard Schnellenberger or the guy from Clemson?
Howard Schnellenberger.
Oh, well, you're right. I'm sorry. I was thinking of the Clemson coach, Howard. Yeah. But yeah, Howard Schnellenberger played for him at Kentucky. You're right, Will.
They claim that
when you're growing up, though, Will, aren't y'all big Tennessee fans? Didn't your dad go to Tennessee?
He was head cheerleader at Tennessee.
Uh-huh.
So when you were at Vandy, were you a Tennessee fan?
No. No fruit.
You were an Alabama fan your whole life.
I grew up being an Auburn fan.
Really?
My mother went to Auburn, but Auburn didn't offer me a scholarship to play golf, so I went to Vandy.
And the Auburn golf coach was Dragoin, the coach at Auburn when you were there?
Yep.
And Dragoin was from Troy.
Yeah, they say he's still living.
And of course, I tell that story about when Coach Bryant was a young man, and of course, big, burly, strong guy. If you've seen pictures of him, and he was the other end.
Don Hudson.
Don Hudson, the All-American, was the other end. But
Mike, he had the biggest hands I've ever seen on a man.
There was an All-American at Kentucky named Bob Gain. Later on, played for the Cleveland Browns. All-Pro years and years, about 6'6" and weighed about 255, 260. Coach Bryant used to stay on him when he was a young coach at Kentucky. Just stayed on Gain all the time, and Gain didn't even know which way was loose, and he really had a hard time. So, and Gain kept telling his teammates, he said, one of these days I'm gonna whip him. One of these days I'm gonna whip him. They said right before this, they claimed that this was in one of his books. Now
it is.
They claimed that this was true story. Gain said, I'm gonna whip him. Right before they went home for Christmas. So he got in his truck and drove down to Coach Bryant's house.
And everybody followed him.
And everybody followed him and knocked on the door. Coach Bryant came to the door, and Gain walked up and to knock on the door, and Coach Bryant opened the door and says, "What do you want, Gain?" He said, "Coach, I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas." And that was probably the way a lot of folks were. A lot of folks would love to whip him because he was not easy, ladies and gentlemen. This guy was probably the roughest coach in the world.
Hey, when he was at Kentucky, he would get down there in those drills. And
trenches.
Even when Dad first went to Alabama, which was 1958, I think Coach Bryant would have been in his mid-40s, late 40s. He said Coach Bryant he'd get down in there, right there with the players.
And if you watch Charlie Bradshaw, who really was about as close to Coach Bryant as anybody, and dear friends, but he was the same kind of coach. Coach Bradshaw, during preseason, his forehead would just be bleeding everywhere where he butted people and hit them with the forearm. They said Coach Bryant had a wicked forearm. All right, what was that?
On the first hole, he hit until he hit a good one. If it took 5 shots to hit a good one, he'd take 5 shots.
Yeah. Now, his trainer was a big-time, Goosetree was a good golfer, wasn't he?
And he was good friends with my daddy.
Jim Goosetree, the trainer, long-time trainer, was a real good golfer.
Yeah, he's an important figure in Alabama athletics. He's a great man.
He was probably Coach Bryant's best friend. But have you ever heard of a guy named Carney Lassie?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Carney Lassie? That was Coach Bryant's best friend, Carney Lassie. Would have been assistant coaches.
He had a lot of people that were with him a long time.
Well, it's been great. We enjoyed it, and I hope, ladies and gentlemen, you enjoyed some of this old talks about how we might have experienced.
So we learned today that Will Matthews played golf with Bear Bryant 25 times. That's pretty incredible.
I've read a lot on Coach Bryant. Those stories. I've heard that story about him. He's going to hit a tee shot until he gets one that he likes.
Exactly. And I'll tell you this: no question about it. Will Matthews was a very good golfer back then, and he still is a pretty good golfer. But
I tell you what, I would not be able to stand over a ball with Coach Bryant watching me hit a golf ball. That'd be pretty intimidating.
Me too. But he loved the game of golf, and he did. The people in Luverne loved him because every year he would come and play in that tournament. One of the state senators, longtime state senators, you were buddies with him, and so forth, from Luverne, and they had some great times.
He did so much. I don't know how he did all of the stuff he did. I've reading The Last Ring about that 1966 Alabama team that got finished third behind Notre Dame and Michigan State. Had some great Coach Bryant stories.
I tell you,
but a lot of them were from. And then another book, Al Browning's book. Billy Varner was his driver, and confident for years. And he had some quotes in Al Browning's book. And just to give you an example, it's one Christmas Eve, and Coach Bryant calls up Billy and says, "Billy, I need you to ride me to Birmingham. I got to go see somebody real quick." And Billy Varner was kind of disappointed. He wanted to spend Christmas Eve with his wife and family.
African American,
yeah. And but he did what Coach Bryant asked, and so he drove him over to Birmingham. He told him the address, and he went in some house, and he said he stayed for about 20 minutes, and then he just came back. He never told him what he did.
Yeah.
And then they drove back to Tuscaloosa. He said it was months later he found out there was some girl that had leukemia that was a big Alabama fan that had written him a letter.
Yeah.
And so on Christmas Eve he went over there and visited with that family and that young girl, and who knows what he did inside there. He didn't say, but that's that. And you can multiply that times 10,000. You know.
To this day, Marlon Scooter Dice out of Elba, Alabama, is one of his all-time favorite players. Little Scooter Dice. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
Reading about, and then of course, it was Dies and Wise that went on from Elba to Alabama.
Yeah, I'll tell you another story. I guess it's true. Al Browning was the sports editor of the Tuscaloosa News. It's in his book. I just read it. He later worked for Coach Bryant when he left the Tuscaloosa News as a personal assistant. And he said he got a phone call Coach Bryant got a phone call one time when Al was in his office, and he said, "Excuse me, Al," and he went and talked to his secretary, and I think he did find out what he did. He had to wire some money to a hotel in a ritzy hotel in New York City. And what he said is one of his former players had ran up a tab and could not pay his hotel bill, and Coach Bryant did, and he said, "Well, what?" He said, "Are you going to get this money back?" And he said, "Nah, knowing this player, I probably won't." But he did it.
That's funny. Because I could remember people players there. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great show, and of course brought to you by Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass, where they've got a huge sale going on right now. Go by and see them today. Appreciate all of our sponsors. You can watch us again today at 1:30. Remember, we're going to pick a few high school scores tomorrow.